Hello, and a very warm welcome to This Woman's Work, a space where you can hear and read about some amazing women, the fantastic jobs they do, and the paths that have led them to where they are today. So I'm here today with Tash. Hi, Tash.
Hello.
In your own words, could you tell our lovely listeners what it is you do?
Well, I am a yoga and Pilates teacher, teach meditation as well, and I have a studio called the Loft, housed at the Rutland Nursery in London.
Fantastic. So you've only recently moved to that. You've just changed premises.
Yeah.
So how long have you been doing this? How long have you been a qualified yoga and
Teacher.
Pilates? Yeah.
I've been teaching Pilates for as long as I can remember, like probably 20 years. And then yoga was always my dirty little secret that I did on the side. And no one knew, it was always my little sort of, side, sort of thing. And so I've only been teaching yoga for about 5 years, but I've been practicing yoga for about 14 years.
Right. So what made you go down the Pilates route more than yoga then to start with?
In the beginning, so I was in my early 20s. I wanted originally to be a dancer, and that didn't happen. And I injured myself. And it was the physio that the primary sort of rehab was Pilates. And I thought it was fascinating, and it got me back on, fit and strong again. And I didn't really know what I wanted to do outside of dance. And I thought, well, I'll give that a go. And I sort of went into the teacher training for that forever ago. I trained as a Pilates instructor sort of in my early 20s. Movement has always been my passion.
Yes.
So it's more moving, in whatever capacity. So I love dance, and that's still a massive feature in my life now. Just moving my body and seeing what it is capable of in whatever capacity. So I have lots of movement passions outside of my job, climbing or hiking, bike, whatever.
Wow. So just pushing your body and seeing.
Yeah, and doing lots of different things, or giving anything that's active a go, which I thoroughly enjoy, especially if I get the opportunity to be outside.
Fantastic. Okay. So if we track way back then, so Tash, school, college, anything unusual in that period of your life?
I left school at 16. Back then, we could leave at 16. 16. And I had no idea. I wanted to dance, but it didn't happen. So I didn't really know, what I wanted to do. So I did lots of things, danced in clubs and, worked in shops and cafes, lots and lots of things. Until I had an injury, and then ended up training as a Pilates instructor, and just fell in love with it. I loved the ethos of strength and stability being your foundation. So it had a big mantra for life, strengthen your center. I liked his ideologies. And it sort of, my cat's just, hello, my cat's just come in. Hello, baby.
Pets seem to be a recurring theme in this. We've had a few dogs. Oh, wow.
Oh, sorry, he's like a little mess. I digress. And it wasn't until much later that I sort of found yoga and would sort of sneak off. So I ended up doing Pilates for my body, strength and stability, and yoga really for my mind.
Yeah.
So what you get physically from yoga is really just a byproduct of the peace in the mind.
It's so true, isn't it? So where did you train then?
So way back when, Pilates, I trained with a guy called Alan Herdman, who brought Pilates from America to the UK in the 70s.
Wow.
He was a dancer, so I was very lucky to be able to train with him. And
did you seek him out, or was it just?
I was told that he was the person. He was the guy at the time. Yeah. And he'd sort of taken the technique, which we'll talk about, more of a Joe Pilates classical technique, which was much more akin to how it was taught in America. And when he brought it to the UK, he had that element to it, which we can talk about. But he then went more of down the sort of clinical physio route with it. So more what he would call at the time remedial Pilates.
Okay.
So laying your foundations and your Lego bricks of stability from which you can then throw yourself around and do circus tricks and all sorts of fun stuff. So it was much more sort of, and that's how I found it, sort of post-injury.
Right.
That sort of understanding of the body, which sort of laid me in really good foundations for training later on. So I then went to America to train with a company called, or a school called Power Pilates. And then I learned the classical, as what we would say, as Joseph Pilates originally intended it to be, his system. Nice. And I did all of his his mat work and his equipment training. And then I had two sort of angles of, I sort of felt like I'd had the whole sort of the two angles of approach.
Yeah.
So if somebody came to me with an injury, I'm not a physiotherapist, but I can work with them to then hopefully move them out of that place and then get them moving again. And then the classical system, which is a lot of fun and it's very flowy and fluid. He was a boxer, so it was very much, it was a workout. So people in the UK would be like, what do you mean you're sort of actually like getting a bit sweaty or actually moving? Well, we do. But in the UK, the system it's much slower. It's much more about control and precision. Yeah. And they'd sort of taken the flow element out of it, which is not wrong. It's just a different approach. And in America, they still teach it. It's very much the classical system, as Joe Pilates originally intended it. And it has flow and fluidity to it, which means you get moving a lot more, which has kind of has a different feel in the body, you know? Yeah.
And so how long were you in the States for?
Oh, not long, only about 3 weeks, because I'd already done, it was more like it was a bridging programme at the time, because I'd already got
like
my...
an intensive kind
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah.
Wow, okay. And were you, when you came back from all of this, did you straight away start instructing? Have you worked at different places? What's been your kind of, I guess, employment journey with it then? Yeah,
well, at the time, I was living in London. So I was very fortunate. There was lots of studios in London, so I got to teach in lots of different places, and the Harbour Club in some nice places in London. I got to teach, which was lovely. The Hale Clinic was also quite a well-known sort of therapy centre on Portland Crescent. So I got to teach in some nice places, and then from there, when I'd had a few years of getting a good foundation under my belt, I then went to sort of work as a self-employed person and built up my sort of client base in London. London, and I was very fortunate that I was able to meet and work with lots of influential people that I was able to build my sort of my private client practice, really. So that's what I did for many years.
Gosh, and then what brought you up to the Midlands then?
So I met my now ex-husband. Essentially we had our son in London. When he was 2, I just didn't want to do the school thing in London. Still got a lot of friends. I go there a lot and I love it, but I didn't really want to bring my son up with the school pressures and in a big city. So we came back here. Originally we're from Nottingham.
Oh, okay. Oh, interesting. Okay.
So we came back here, and we moved to near Grantham because my husband could then still commute back to London for work. Yeah. His office is still there, and I was up here with our son.
And did you set up straight away as your own place, or what were you doing when you first moved?
When I came up here?
Yeah.
No, I essentially stopped teaching.
Okay.
So I didn't teach for quite a while actually, because I had a 2-year-old, so I didn't know anyone. No friends.
No so you've gone from this really busy, like all in, influential kind of, and then up here to go and do what you want to do.
No, that was that. I think that was the, to a little bit earlier about being impulsive. I'm like, that's a great idea. We'll go and move into a cottage in the country with a baby. And then I moved. I went, I've left my job, my business, my friends,
your whole network,
and I'm in a village and I know no one. And my husband is working a lot away. This is quite a common story.
It is.
So I'm not really unusual that my husband was building up his business in London and from scratch. And so I sort of didn't teach. And also, this is really interesting, at the time when I moved here, there were no Pilates studios at all up here. There wasn't even much knowledge or understanding of what Pilates was up here. It was fascinating. And I'd come from London, where they're pretty much on every street corner, you know, and up here there just wasn't any.
I mean, so you couldn't even go to a class.
Couldn't go to a class, couldn't find a class, couldn't find a teacher, could barely. I mean, you could find a bit of yoga, you know, a little bit. And my particular style was Ashtanga. I had to go to Newark. I found one person in Newark. And there were no Ashtangis around here, and it's only just now, in the last handful of years, that I can find that style of yoga. So, you know, talking to somebody about Mysore self-practice was like, no one had a clue. No. So it was really interesting. The not just the shift of not knowing anyone, but the things that you're used to finding easily.
Well, for someone you've described yourself as, I love moving, I love doing all this stuff, and then suddenly,
not available.
Gosh, your world has completely changed.
Yeah, it was really interesting. I didn't have, you know, dogs or, you know, to, you know, go, you know, you just, go for a dog walk or whatever, and you meet people. So it was, and then I sort of did that, you know, groups, or my son started at Montessori Nursery.
Yes, yeah.
And then I met a couple of nice ladies, and then I met a couple of sort of that sort of mums that you didn't really connect with, and you're thinking, what have I done? I don't know what I've done. I don't get this. I don't get this.
Yeah, what am I meant to do?
What am I meant to do? I'm supposed to be like in this joyous bubble, and I'm not really.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, it was a tricky time, but that's really why I didn't teach for a while. And then actually a couple of mums went, oh, come on, get back on the horse, you know.
Really?
Yeah, so I started teaching from my lounge.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So really natural, really organic.
Yeah, just really random. And they sort of didn't force me into it, but kind of, did, you know.
Coerced you.
Yeah, kind of went, come on. And so I just started teaching small groups from my living room.
Wow.
Yeah. And then I eventually, we built an annex. And eventually I built a studio.
Yeah.
And eventually I then started teaching again up here.
Wow.
You know, yeah. But again, it was on a part-time basis, really, fitting very much around, you know, having a little boy. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of what happened.
Gosh, I'm now picturing this house with a yoga studio annex and thinking, whoever owns that now, I mean, what are they doing with that space? Oh, it'll be a man cave of something. It'll be like a cinema or something like that.
Yeah, totally.
Gosh, okay, so from there then, is that then you then shifted to, I mean, what brought you to the Loft in Overcame to start with then? Did you just see it, or?
The Loft in Overcame, well, essentially, my marriage broke down.
Yeah.
And that was essentially a sort of, you know, from always being self-employed and always having my own business, you know, prior to having my son. And then when me and my husband separated, I needed to then teach again properly.
Yeah.
I needed to get back working again. Yeah. I had two choices. You sort of rent the village hall and, you know, do that. And I thought, oh, I've never had my own space. And I thought maybe we'd come through COVID, which was obviously, you know, challenging for everybody on many, many levels. And I missed being with people. I taught online through COVID, which was okay. It's all right. It's okay. It served a really good purpose. And I see where it has value. I really like being with people. I'm a people person and I love connection, community. And that's really my why. I love, you know, bringing people together. Everyone's welcome in my house. It's all-inclusive house. And so I thought, I'm going to give it a go. So absolutely, the truth be known, nail biting. I don't know how to run a business. All I know how to do is sit in front of people and deliver how to teach a class. That's my big passion. I love it. Getting people moving and being joyful and happy in their own home, their physical home, and that's what I love.
Yeah.
However, there's this whole other side to it that is, oh, now you've got to know how to do accounting and marketing and social media.
Well,
now
even physically set your space up.
Your space up and design it and build it and insure it and
all that rates,
all this stuff. So I've never done that before. So it's a little bit of baptism of fire.
Yeah.
Studio Mark 1, I made so many mistakes and so many huge, failures that I'm now sort of unpicking essentially. So that's what I would say, that it's a big passion, but it's a massive learning curve for me, like a huge steep, hold on to your hats, here we go.
You didn't throw in the towel?
I'm impulsive.
You're not a quitter.
I'm not going to give up. No. And I've got it, even though it's sort of like, I've got a big vision for sort of what I see is possible to bring to community, because at the moment we're sort of in this, it's really interesting, the wellbeing industry, because you either sort of like member of a gym, which is like fine, or like a fancy club, or what have you, or you go to the village hall. And I was like, okay, this is not going to be just another yoga studio. I want it to be a well-being space where you don't have to subscribe, lots and lots of money every month. You can come and go, but you still feel part of the community, and you have somewhere lovely to be at whatever point in your week, and feel included and part of something, and where we're going to grow wellness offerings that give you an opportunity to go, can you do I don't know what that is, I want to give that a go, maybe that brings something to my world, and see what we can help you with. Even though the studio Mark 1, it had only been there for a year and a quarter, but I had the opportunity to move it
to where it is now.
And even though that was quite an impulsive decision, because I was only just sort of getting the ground running at the first location, it's a bit of a risk really. The possibilities of where we are at the nursery in the future as we grow are, it's to be near nature, it's very special. It's a very special location, and we have the possibility to get people back to nature and get people exploring how they feel in a place of beauty, which we're very lucky that this is where we live, and we can then offer it to as many people as possible. And my sort of meditational mantra or strapline, and it keeps always coming up, is making things local, sustainable and affordable. Right. So yes, we've all got to pay our bills, but my biggest, again, another huge passion or why is making sure that the offerings, I've either got something that's for community where it's anyone's welcome, as in it's not charged, or stuff goes to a local charity, something like, this is what we're sort of building at the moment, or workshops, things that we just keep on offering for community where everybody has an opportunity to do it, you know?
So in terms of being qualified, then you've obviously gone down quite a specific route with qualifications. For somebody maybe starting out now, is there, because I'm guessing there's lots of different courses and things you can do. Are there any either you'd recommend or you'd recommend to avoid?
I would say...
So you say it costs money, everything else.
It's courses are expensive. It's really true. Even now, when I look to carry on with my continued professional development, it's not always easy to navigate which way you want to go. You've got to be very clear on your why. And I would say that would be my best bit of advice, is to just have a really good understanding of what your passion is, what you want to teach, because it's easy to get pulled in lots of different directions, and know what it is. Like we have a variety of different teachers at the Loft, and they teach very in different ways, and all I would say is you need to know what resonates with you, and really tap into that. So I would probably say, if you wanted, I really would like to be a yoga teacher, make sure you've tried lots of different kinds of classes, lots of different things, and see what really, really resonates with you. Before you choose, because it is a financial outlay. It's quite a lot of money to choose a teacher training, And you can go on residentials, you can go somewhere and have intensive, you know, you could stay there for 1 or 2 months. You could be very traditional, go to India, depends, or you could go more down the sort of modern science route of it, you know, it just depends which way you want to look at it or how you want to deliver the
experience.
The experience, you know. So it's not a right or wrong, it's just what is right for you.
Right for you, gosh, that's got to be key.
Yeah.
Because with something like this, if somebody was teaching something they didn't really believe in, it would be really obvious, surely.
Yeah, I think so. It's like if somebody's just reading words off a page, you can feel it, and you can feel if somebody's doing
just
it,
going through the motions.
And I think it's a bit of a shame because it's such a beautiful thing to share with someone if it's not coming, you know, from your heart or from somewhere that you really resonate with.
Yeah,
it takes a bit of time to figure that out.
Yeah, gosh.
I know you have a little life in you yet. I know you have a lot of strength left. I know you have a little life in you yet.
Okay, what specific set of skills do you think you have that make you good at yoga and Pilates and being a teacher of it as well?
What my superpowers
in
teaching?
Like a Liam Neeson. I've got a very specific set of skills. A very specific set of skills.
I love it. You've got to be a people person.
Yeah, you've got to like people.
You've got to like people.
Touching people. Don't mind touching
exactly.
People.
Yes, in the appropriate manner. Oh dear. I think a good communicator.
Yeah.
Non-judgmental. You know, you've got to be able to put yourself aside and be very open. I think they're sort of the you know, the basic foundations of what it means to be a, you know, I'm going to kind of try to avoid good or bad because there's, you know, good teacher or bad teacher. I would probably say, whether somebody is comes from the heart, you know, a good communicator.
And you were always like that, do you think, even in your younger versions, or is this something? Because we're always on a journey, aren't we?
Yeah, so it's certainly evolved.
Yeah,
you know, it's certainly evolved over time. But I've
always liked people.
Always loved being with people. I like community. I like being with people. I love seeing Mary's just, you know, Mary, whatever student, their journey from how they start to see how they evolve and what they can see is unfolding in them and what that might mean out of the studio. So you can come to a 60-minute class, which is lovely, it's your time, but it's what that translates to when you walk out the studio in your life, what it brings to your world, what that space, that time, that energy, that effort that you get from your teacher, what it then brings to your world outside the studio.
Yeah, wow. Okay, so not wanting to focus on the negative, but so the flip side of that, what personal challenges do you think you have? Obviously, we've talked a little bit about having a business, right?
Yeah.
Do you really like business?
Yeah.
Do you think you have that you struggle with a little bit?
There's always a little bit of which I meditate, that a little bit of that imposter syndrome, like, oh, are they going to catch me out?
Yeah.
I can't do this. It's more to do with running the whole idea of the loft and the whole having a space, you know, rather than me. I've always, you know, built a business but worked for myself and just turned up, done my thing and left. All very lovely, but now I'm like, oh my goodness, now I've got a shop window and it's like there out for the world to see. It's taken me a long time to be comfortable enough to put myself on social media, and I'm starting to do it now because this is the billboard of the modern world, and this is what we have to do.
It's how people search for everything.
But being brave enough to be honest about who I am as a teacher. So, because I'm, you know, I might not resonate, you know, not everybody resonates with everyone, and that's okay. And that's why we have different kinds of teachers for different styles, vibes, energy, where you are, and different times in, you know, one day you might need a really strong, energetic class. One day you might just need to lie down and just meditate. It depends on where you're at. So there's a little bit of like, oh my goodness, are they going to figure out I can do this? It's a bit, definitely definitely a bit of a struggle.
And I'm going to say a really reoccurring theme of this, the people I've interviewed, because a lot of these women, same with me, being self-employed, the imposter syndrome comments come
Really?
up a lot. Yeah, and I hate to say it, is this us as women doubting ourselves in a way that men just don't. Men are just a bit more gung-ho and stuff, I think. But equally, we think beyond, don't we? So we're thinking we're thinking about our kids and the responsibility and stuff. Yeah. So, and obviously we feel responsible for the people. Yes. You know, so yeah, it is a really reoccurring theme. So
it's huge. I spent, as most women in marriages that they're looking after their children, I spent many years forgetting I might have had some value to offer. And then when it is like, now go out into the world and get on with it again, I was like, oh, I've done this for years. Yeah. God, you know.
The
self-doubt. Like,
can be crippling.
So I literally, for the last year, they're my struggles or worries or concerns. Like, I've got no idea. I know kind of what I want to do, how to do it. I don't know if I can, if it's going to be possible, if I'm going to, you know, all of those things. I don't think we ever do, like, it's not like, and ta-da, I got over myself. It's an ebb and flow. It changes all the time, and your emotions and your feet, it's a backdrop that changes all the time. And the whole idea of meditation, it's not possible to, I mean, if I had £1 for every time I said, I can't meditate, my head's too busy, or I've got too many, you know, there's too much, that's what the mind is. We're not supposed to blank the mind or completely empty the mind.
So it's a time and a place then.
We're not, you know, that's not the goal. It's observation and to be and find the awareness. And then eventually, the more we sit still with ourselves and cultivate that practice and that present moment awareness, over time, you get more spaciousness, you get more clarity and more intuition, and
a bit of a break from my own head,
and a break, which is really amazing. Like, it's really wonderful, you know. And that's why yoga's a nice a really beautiful way in, because you get to use your body as your tool to do that.
Yeah, that's exactly why I love it, because I'm focusing on my body and what my body's doing, not the weird stuff going around in my head.
Exactly. So that's why it's a really great backdoor into that peacefulness that you can get with your practice. Really nice.
Okay. What's been the absolute best part of all of it? And it could be there might be multiple things. So when you were teaching in London, is there a best thing that happened to you, or a best part and best thing now? Wherever you want to take that question.
Best part of, I mean, met some beautiful people, like wonderful, you know, like genuinely the most amazing people, and you naturally then find your tribe, you know, and of all different walks of life, all different types of people, which I find really joyous and inspiring to hear their stories and where they've come from. And so I love that part of what I do. And I love the work-life balance. I love that it gives me freedom and choice. So they're the you know, the most amazing things about this, is that I get the choice to set my own schedule, timetable, how I teach, when I teach, what I teach, which is it's a luxury, really. It's a real gift to be able to do that, you know. I feel very grateful that I can.
Oh. And again, I don't want to focus on the negative here, but it's just to give someone a feel of kind of the highs and the lows, because like you're saying, life is a journey.
It is, yeah.
I guess, what's been the things you've struggled with the most since
setting up the Loft?
Yeah, or kind of, because I'd written this down as the worst part, but that just sounds so negative now I'm talking to you. But do you know what I mean? It's kind of like, I guess it's
balance. It's the yin and the yang. There's always the positive. There's always the positive and the negative. So there's always the light and the dark of each thing, or every opportunity, or everything. That I think the worst parts for me are kind of having a vision, but not having a clue how to do it.
Yeah.
So that's the truth. Yeah, going, I know what I want to do, but now I'm going to mumble and fumble through the dark until I figure out how to do it. So that's not like the most fun one can have in a day, because the much easier option for me and this is why yoga teachers do this, because it's much calmer, is you rent the village hall.
Yeah.
And you know, promote your class, and you get your, because you still get the same feeling. You're teaching, you get community and the worst part for me was, kind of, it's a bit, I can't even say this, arse about tit, going, I'm going to have this lovely space for community, but how I go about growing it, you know, developing it, didn't know. So it's kind of sort of sleepless.
It's almost the scary, it's not worse, it's the scary part.
That's the scary. Super, super scary.
It didn't scare you enough to stop you though?
No, it didn't. And I just thought I'd always rather give it a go and fail miserably and hand back the keys and go, well, I tried my best.
Yeah.
You know, rather than just going back to what I've always, you know, I wanted a new growth to my life and my world, you know, and also being scary or worst, doing it as you can sort of empathize with, as a single mum, starting a business from scratch has had probably detrimental sides to my parenting, because I've not had in the first year the opportunity to be as present as a parent, which makes me disappointed and sad. But that's changed, you know, that's now changing. I'm coming out the other side. We're finding balance again with that. So they're probably like the negative elements that would be different for other people. You know, their journey would be different, but that was just that's my experience, because, you know, in a very short, in a year, I got divorced, moved house, and started a business.
Gosh.
So yeah.
It was a lot in 1 year. Yeah, it was a lot in 1 year. Odd question, and I can cut this out if needs be. But we just talked about this earlier about money, really, because you know, clearly you're not driven by money in this respect. No. You're trying to create something. Yeah. But
we've got to pay our bills.
Yeah, we've got to pay our bills, and like you say, so it's. And I think I'm asking everyone a similar-ish question, and it's tricky because when you are self-employed, a lot of it is, well, it depends how much you want to work. Yeah. You know, in this instance, how much you want to teach, how many classes you want to do. Yeah. It's a numbers game, it's a volume game. Yeah. But is there an element of the more you experience you are, the more qualified you can charge more? What's that kind of financial growth? Sorry if you don't mind me asking.
No, that's absolutely yes, but there's still a bit of a cap on how much somebody, even if you know. I can still, you look at
your yoga Pilates master.
Well, there's still, you know, you have to, in this industry, you go down the route of putting teacher training programs together and schools together. And that's really how then you start to expand your income potential. Because, like, you know, unless you're like, you know,
so almost franchising you're talking about.
A little bit like that, I would say. You know, where I went to train, you know, to be a Pilates teacher, if you're then writing manuals for training programs, that's where you can really start to earn a lot more money. But again, it's an avenue of, is that what you want to do? Is that what resonates with your soul? You know,
rather than just you want to earn some money.
Exactly. I think I really wanted, my son's I'm going to be in this area until my son leaves school. So I wanted to be able to be with people in a space. I love that. Yeah. But again, I can only charge so much for a class or a private lesson, and I would charge the maximum that I could, you know, for a private lesson. So there is a cap still on what you can charge. But then you could make more money if you do sort of online programs or online courses. There's that road that you could go down, which again in the future, not necessarily teaching, but I will probably start doing on meditation.
Oh gosh, I was going to ask that actually.
Yeah, it's just because it's more my. I really love teaching meditation and doing guided meditation. Yeah. So you know, every class I teach in yoga, I always do a bit of meditation at the end. Yeah. And it's a big passion of mine to watch grown-ups allow themselves a moment to unplug themselves from the world, the matrix, the busyness, to actually watch them drop into another state is really
and can
lovely.
You feel that then?
You feel it, you can see it.
Really?
It's incredible. And then I feel terrible at the end because I have to get them to, I feel like I just want to wrap them all in sleeping bags and let them sleep.
Yeah.
Because
you've got to wake them up. You've got to get
then I've got to bring them back round and send them home, and I don't want to. Yeah. I know. So so there's lots of avenues that you can go down
to earn money.
Yeah.
Little streams of income.
Definitely. And I think definitely for what I would say younger teachers that have maybe flexibility about where they go, they could definitely do much more teaching online and, you know, do programs like that. And then, their capacity for how many you get, because online you don't, in my studio I can fit 14 people. That's because that's just how many mats I can fit in there. Yeah. And that's the maximum space available. But if you're online, you could probably have 30, you could probably have 30 people, maybe.
Well, also, surely, and then if you're recording it, people can pay a smaller fee to watch it later, can't they?
So there's lots of things. Yeah, lots of ways. This is the modern world, And I'm like, wow, technology. And I'm not very technologically minded at all. I got my first laptop at the age of 42. I swear to you. So I'm literally, I know. I've just never had much interest in technology.
Wow.
So
now, do you know what? You'll survive while the rest of us are like, I'm convinced.
Oh dear.
Okay, so what's next?
So, I'm working on sort of collaborations, which again, I really, really enjoy doing. So bringing my skills with, another wonderful person's skills, and then piecing events, workshops.
Brilliant.
Yeah. Me and another teacher and the lovely lady that I do sound baths with. So we've got a little project that I'm going to hang fire on talking about. But we'll have our first one in I'm going to call it a wellbeing party.
Wow.
Yes. Me and one of my best friends, we've always loved dancing and partying. Now I'm getting older. I like to drink, it's more, I like to drink less and,
Go to bed early.
Right, exactly. So let's do a wellbeing, like a daytime party. So we'll have, I like teaching yoga to dance music and all sorts of, craziness. And collaborating with Reiki and sound baths and so it's going to be like so in December we'll have our first one, and then with a view to do much bigger outside daytime, wellbeing parties.
Wow.
On the water, which is
oh my gosh,
that's my.
You're just basically going to solve my whole social life problems, aren't you?
Well, when I first saw the nursery, I was like, well, you do this outside space, and they were like, I don't know. I'm like, well, can I put my yurt there, my teepee there? And they're like, they've got their ideas of bits and bobs, and I'm like, do you realise what we can bring to
such
community?
A unique space, isn't it?
Isn't it lovely?
Amazing.
So that's the sort of
And then people are going to travel, aren't they?
The vision for.
Well, everyone, you can watch the space. We'll share all the news.
Yes.
Okay. Advice for younger self, then. What advice would you give younger Tash?
My younger Tash. Be brave enough to genuinely listen to what you love, what lights you up. And that, I think, especially today, is really difficult for young people because they're bombarded all the time with and this and
what you should
what you should do. And I've fallen into that 100 times over. So that's a really lovely question, because if you can nail it early, not in the mid 40s, if you can nail it way back when, and it would build more inner strength, resilience, and then
inner happiness,
peace, to be able to say, no,
being my true self,
be my true me.
Well, I think we've probably just touched on a lot of this then, but what, as a final question, life advice to throw out there then, to kind of the world, women, men, old, young, is it still the same? Just to kind of...
I would say that's the thing that I would say to any, not just a woman embarking on a journey, but just anybody at all, child, grown up, 100-year-old, always try as much as you can to be honest with yourself, because that's not always easy.
No.
And yeah, truly listen to what lights you up.
Yeah.
What you bring into the world. Your unique gifts, because everybody has a superpower, and just trying to tap into what your superpower is.
Yeah. Gosh, thank you very much, Tash.
You're welcome.
You've been amazing.
It's so lovely to meet you. Thank you so much for inviting me to talk with you. It's been a real pleasure.
If you would like to hear more about this chat, see some behind the scenes pics and some personal profile pics, plus read about how to get started in this industry and or this role, then please go and support us on Patreon. The link is on this podcast page and across all of our socials. Sincere thanks in advance.